All right, yes, indeed, it is. Once again, time for another episode of the KeNikka Sports Show, everybody. I am your host, Kenny, and I am joined once again, as always, by my lovely co-host. She's the one, the only, Nika, everybody.
Woohoo!
There you go. She's braving out there.
Thank you, Kenny. How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
Perfect.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to our new and returning listeners all over the world. How is everybody doing? And we are at the end of February. Today is the 28th. We don't have a 29th.
There is no 29. That was last year. So we got 3 years now.
Oh.
And this is year number 1 of no 29.
All right. Last day of February, first day of March tomorrow.
It is
we are getting
officially going to be March.
And the spring training continues.
Spring training continues. Actually, spring training is heading to prime time tonight. It was actually on prime time last night. We had a Nationals Braves game. But tonight we get 2 games. We get the Padres Mariners, and we also have the Dodgers playing their first action with one Shohei Ohtani, everybody. We will talk about that soon. Fernando Tatis Jr. is back from his illness, apparently, and is going to play today for the Padres as well. I'm excited for Fernando to make his 2025 spring training debut.
It makes me wonder if his sniffles are something we experienced yesterday.
Yeah, do you think he got some wind lash? And maybe coming from the humidity to the dryness, if he was in the Caribbean all winter. There's just these changing environments will wreak havocs on you. But who knows? Yeah, we had some wind yesterday that touched us and kind of had us both feeling groggy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's over. It's gone.
It's over. It's gone. I was concerned, but I'm glad it's gone. And here we are. The voice is here. It's Friday. We get games all day. So we have games like starting in a few minutes on the East Coast. And then we have games starting at like 7 o'clock our time here in Arizona tonight. So that's fascinating, everybody. And it's our first full day of all-day baseball.
Are those games tonight free to watch?
They are free on our MLB TV paid subscription. So we have access to them, yes. They will be on TV, I believe, tonight.
Okay.
We had a lot of games not televised yesterday. That happens throughout the spring, but it looks like today is going to be a full slate. So here we go. And also what happens, too, is we get split squads. Mm-hmm. And so those games tend to not get televised sometimes because you have 2 teams in 2 different places at once, and not everyone can be there.
That's true.
So, yeah, we have a lot going on. It is a fun Friday show we got for everybody. The Cubs remain undefeated in spring training.
They're singing, go, Cubs, go! Go, Cubs, go!
You know, they were on the verge of victory yesterday when they gave up a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th inning.
So wait, did they lose
against the Angels? So they didn't lose technically because the game ended in a tie.
Oh, because of the spring training, that's acceptable.
Yeah. So they remain undefeated, but they were poised to be 7-0 heading into the. I was actually writing the headline already before this happened in my head. Wow, Cubs not lost yet, and then the home run happened, and I was like, oh, but they still haven't lost yet.
So is that a leaky bullpen situation again?
Plumbers, we fix leaks.
Well, I bet they're hoping it isn't after last season, and their fans are holding their breath. I mean, it was not anyone that's going to be probably on the major league roster, but nevertheless, you don't want these foreboding things to happen in these kinds of situations, right? The Angels didn't have their A players in either as well at this point in the game. So a little minor league on minor league action to finish off the spring training game in a tie. And we also got our first glimpse of the phenom, everybody, the hottest player in baseball. I'm talking, of course, about Roki Sasaki, the rookie for the Dodgers. He pitched in his first simulated game in spring training action. He has not taken an actual spring training mound in a game yet, but he pitched a simulated game, and he got taken yard in his first simulated game by White Sox prospect Kyle Teel, everybody. Remember the name. He is officially in the record books as Roki Sasaki's first American soil home run given up. Hopefully the first of many if you're a Padres fan, everybody.
Let's go White Sox.
Well, that's about all the White Sox have to root for these days. In case you missed it, they had some injury news yesterday that we're going to get to shortly, everybody. But that Roki Sasaki home run was a reminder to me of a new segment that we're going to premiere on this show today called Beyond the Box Score. And I'm excited to do that a little bit later, and it will feature the Dodgers and some of their pitching staff. Oh. But before we get into anything, Nika, we got some breaking news to get to this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This bullet just handed to me.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Well, I gave it away already off the top of the show.
Oh, no.
Ohtani is making his spring training debut. It's of note because not only is he rehabbing from his Tommy John elbow surgery, but he's also rehabbing from shoulder surgery that he had in the offseason. I believe it was on his non-throwing arm, of course, but also he does swing a bat, so he needs both of his shoulders working to do that. So he's finally going to play in a spring training game. It will be on the, as Nika mentioned, the finale of February, and we are heading into March tomorrow. So welcome back, Ohtani.
Guess who's back again.
He's back.
Welcome back to the fight.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back to the land of moving parts.
Oh, boys! I'm back!
Unfortunately, for the Cubs, Nico Hoerner is rehabbing a forearm injury, and it's been revealed that he will not be able to play in Japan, and I think he's going to wind up missing the whole trip as a result of this because he's got to rehab this injury. But this, combined with Matt Shaw being hurt, means that you have kind of half of the Cubs infield that is not getting work right now in spring training. A little bit concerning for the Cubs, even though they are undefeated in the spring, to not be working those double plays with half of your infield.
Too bad those games don't count towards the regular season.
Those 6-0-1 games? Well, yeah, the regular season also can't end in a tie either. So
That's true.
So anyways, keep an eye on that with the Cubs, like a little bit concerning. Matt Shaw is supposed to start playing this weekend.
That's the third baseman, correct?
Yes, he's going to be the Cubs are counting on him to be the third baseman after missing out, of course, on Alex Bregman. Teaser, everybody. We have some rumors about that situation in Boston that continues to evolve with Devers and Alex Bregman, which is getting interesting. But here now on the Cubs, Nico Hoerner out, Matt Shaw starting to play. We'll see where this leads the Cubs once Tokyo starts and who's going to fill in those positions. Speaking of Cubs, a former Cub, Chris Bryant, made some news this week because he hit a baseball 111.8 miles per hour off the bat in a spring training game. It was a homer. It was a good one. And it was the hardest ball that Chris Bryant has hit, according to the major league calculators that exist everywhere now. Hardest ball that he has hit since 2017, everybody. This is when we had shades of MVP Chris Bryant. And right now, MLB Network is doing this like 30 teams in 15 days promotion. You might have seen it. It looks like a highway sign with a 30 and a hyphen and a 15 on it. And anyways, they were making a detour at Rockies spring training camp, and they caught up with Chris Bryant actually via microphone. And here he is talking about his off-season regimen in this past year.
Yeah, obviously I've dealt with a lot of injuries the last few years and really just trying to do my best to be on the field. And my workouts this offseason changed a little bit, really kind of focused more on the lifting aspect, whereas previous off seasons I was doing a lot of running and more baseball stuff, but I really wanted to try to get stronger, get my core stronger so that my back can hold up for a full season. And so far, so good here in camp.
Can somebody tell me why a Major League Baseball player hasn't been lifting weights in the offseason for the past 8 years, apparently, and just now discovered this miraculous way to like keep their back strong?
I don't know, but it's very odd.
Also, why are GMs and baseball businessmen not asking these kinds of questions maybe in player interviews, like, hey, what's your off-season workout look like? Any weight training in there? No? If we sign you, we might expect you to do some more of that. If we give you this $180 million contract, we might expect you to do some more weightlifting, Chris.
Well, Chris is 33 at the moment.
Yeah, that's why he's not a spring chicken.
Nope.
So that the fact that this hard hit ball kind of came out of nowhere, I think has got, like I said, it made news. It's been 8 years since he's hit a ball this hard.
And he had so many problems with his back.
Yeah.
He had a surgery, shoulder, back. I don't know if he had a surgery, but I know he had.
Just amazing though that no weights in all of this in the offseason. You got to figure that would totally help you with strengthening your back muscles, your ass muscle, everything that supports that back is happening.
Everything. It's how you make everything stronger. It's bizarre. Okay.
Yeah, well, that was a well-timed clip, like with putting 2 and 2 together, shall we say, when it comes to maybe that hard hit has something to do with the fact that you lifted some damn weights.
Remember this story about Michael Jordan you told me so many times?
Yeah.
That one off season he hit the gym with weights, and what happened to him? He basically became the
unstoppable.
Superstar. Right.
Because the Pistons were beating the hell out of the Bulls every year in the playoffs, and not just like beating them at basketball, but they were like physically beating them in the paint. If you remember those matchups,
that's when the games were more physical.
100%. The Bulls, Jordan, and a lot of his teammates made it a point to put on muscle in the offseason, to take the beating and the punishment more. And I think that's when they wound up breaking through and winning their championship. So, hey, maybe the Rockies, we should look out for the Rockies this year, especially if they've been in the weight room, everybody.
I hope so.
You would think we wouldn't have to relearn these lessons that we learned 35 years ago now. Got some fun news this week, also surrounding one of our favorite players, Yu Darvish.
Is he hitting the weights too?
Well, not that I know of, not that I've seen explicitly, but he is lifting the pen again and autographing Topps baseball cards for the first time since the 2016 season, apparently, after 9 years of absence. What really jumped out at me about this means that he never signed cards while he was on the Cubs. And I'm not sure about the other teams he played for. The Rangers and the Dodgers, I guess, would have been in that time period as well. I'm not sure if he ever signed Dodger cards or not. But I made this a newsworthy item because I wondered out loud if this had something to do with the fact that he's pretty confident at this point that he's going to be on the Padres for the rest of his career. And I think he has a special affinity for the organization and for the late owner, Peter Seidler. And I just wonder if this is something where he's just like, okay, now that I know I'm going to be on the Padres, I would rather just sign those cards now for the rest of my life. So interesting. I don't know if that has anything to do with it at all or what, but the Yu Darvish signatures might be a little bit more valuable if they're not something that has been done every year.
Do you think the same happened with Mookie Betts when he was asked to sign more cards?
Well, I think what it brings up, we did that story a couple months ago. In January, it was announced that Mookie was going to be signing Topps cards for the first time in 10 years.
Right.
And that means all of his autograph cards predate the Dodgers. So these are going to be his first autographs on Dodger cards that are like officially licensed by Topps. And so those are probably going to fetch a premium this year if you're lucky enough to snatch one up. But yeah, so interesting stuff all around. And we also noticed Barry Bonds had cracked open the marker again this year and was autographing Topps cards for the first time in almost a decade. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of our show for Friday Fun today, I promise you. But in the meantime, last bit of news I got this weekend is that the WBC is officially getting underway with the second round robin tournament on Sunday, everybody. And, of course, we have this second qualifier tournament happening. We just had the previous one finished where Nicaragua and Chinese Taipei came out and Spain and South Africa went home. Sorry, guys. Next time, maybe. Spain especially, maybe next time.
You got 4 years to practice.
Heartbreak City.
You're a heartbreaker. You're bringing
All right. Well, we have 4 new teams taking a crack at it, and only 2 will go on to next year's World Baseball Classic, everybody. So let's give a round of applause for all of our participants. On Sunday, we have kicking it off China taking on Germany.
Ooh, that's where what's his name is gonna be.
The child of Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf, everybody. What is his name again?
Jaden.
Jaden Agassi. Thank you, Nika. Way to be sharp on your toes on that one. And then at 6 p.m., these are mountain time, by the way, on Sunday. I'll fix it and let you know that it's going to be 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time Sunday, we have Brazil taking on Colombia. And I'm excited to see Brazil and Germany and China, especially in this. No offense. No offense, Colombia, but I think we've seen you before in the WBC. But I just like to see new teams, and I don't know a lot about their baseball programs. I know in like the past WBC in 2023, it was really fun to see Great Britain because it's like, oh, they play baseball over there and they're actually good enough to be in this tournament now.
Because we also forgot the British Empire had some islands.
Yes.
In the Bermudas or Bahamas.
Yes, there's the ABC Islands of Aruba, Bermuda, and I forget what the C one is. So my apologies, everybody. But the Aruba Islands, I believe, are linked to the Netherlands still.
Yes.
But some of these islands are linked to the United Kingdom because I think Jazz Chisholm can play for Team Britain.
Yep.
All right, fun stuff all around. That's what I love about the WBC is these weird like connections to countries and stuff that still exist from empires long ago. Excited to watch these teams play, especially Brazil, China, and Germany, just to see what their baseball programs are like.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're going to be checking that out somewhere.
Cool. All right, well, that's all the news that's fit to print this week. But we got some rumors, Nika. Can you hit the music, please?
Are the rumors true?
I love rumors.
You're all vulnerable to vicious rumors.
Well, you know how this town is. People talk and they spread these cruel rumors.
Rumors spread by whom?
And I'm just about to lose my mind. Honey, yeah.
Well, the first rumor we have up comes from Tom Verducci on MLB Network, and he is talking about Miami Marlins pitcher Sandy Alcantara, everybody. And by the way, we should welcome him back from Tommy John surgery. He didn't pitch last year.
Guess who's back again?
He's back.
Welcome back to the fight.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back to the land of moving parts.
Oh, boys! I'm back!
Yes, welcome back, Sandy. Here is Tom Verducci talking about whether or not Sandy is going to stay a Miami Marlin this year. Let's hear from Tom.
It's probably too early to start talking about trade candidates, but his name is going to be out there. And I think especially for teams like Baltimore, the New York Mets, who are built to go to the World Series and maybe don't have that swing and miss guy horse at the front of the rotation, to me, he'd be the number one guy. I'm not saying the Marlins are going to trade him. They have him under contract for the next few years, but they're going to be in a situation where teams are going to knock on a door. And to me, similar to CC Sabathia, where the Brewers went to Cleveland and said, let's not wait till the end of July. Let's do it before the All-Star break. He's that kind of a difference maker.
Well, this jumped out at me because this has AJ Preller written all over it. This reminds me of Luis Arise all over again. What jumps out at me too is he's got multiple years of control. The one thing that scares me about this is going to cost you Ethan Salas.
You think so?
Yeah. And I'm just wondering if you do it.
That's a good question. He is going to be under control till 2027. Like, he's a pitcher and at a steal of a price at the moment, knowing how much pitcher costs nowadays for any team.
Yeah. And then the thing you have to ask yourself, I guess, if you're Florida, is when are we going to be ready to compete again? And looking at our division, looking at even Washington right now, I think Washington is a dark horse this year. And then you have Atlanta, Philadelphia, and the Mets. Oh, just those three teams. If I'm Miami, I'm thinking like, well, this sucks. And I'm better off planning ahead for when the Phillies are a retirement community in a couple years, when Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner are all 35. That's when I want to make my move to be competitive again and beat their ass. But in the meantime, I can't compete with that. I can't compete with Atlanta and Acuna and Profar and everyone, Riley and Albies and everyone I mentioned. The Nationals have one of the best young teams in the league and are going to probably wreak havoc in that division on some of the teams I just mentioned. And oh, by the way, you have the Mets who just bought Juan Soto, and yeah, they spent a little bit of extra on Pete Alonso too. Not getting any easier in the NL East, everybody.
No.
So would you move him if you're the Marlins, knowing that he's a premium? And you know that there's some premium players out there to be had in the minors.
The Padres and the Marlins do have a good relationships when it comes to trading partners. But
that's what jumped out at me. If you'll remember, Padres made 2 trades with the Marlins last year. And one of them is still even paying off. 2 of them are. The Luis Ariz trade happened in early May. It was like barely May. And then at the trade deadline, we got Tanner Scott and Brian Hoeing. I think they both came from the Marlins, if I'm correct. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Hoeing came from the Rays, too. Either way, those were the trades they made last year. Ariz is still here. He's going to be here this year.
The Marlins got Ryan Weathers.
They did, yeah. He was a young trade-off piece for them.
Well, Marlins really sound like a feeder system for a lot of teams at the moment.
In a way, I mean, I can understand why it might look that way, but at the same time, look what I just told you. Look what they're competing against in just their own division. I think they just lost their manager, their general manager. They're doing a rebuild internally in their whole organization, and I think this whole year and season for them is about figuring out like what kind of players they have in their organization and do they fit with what I want in a baseball team as a general manager and a manager. As we want in a baseball team. Does that involve keeping your like Cy Young ace around?
No, he's 29 and a half. So,
Sandy?
Yes.
So he's not a young pup either. He's not 26 here.
Exactly. So why would you hold him back in his prime?
Yeah. It looks like he's going to be a ripe trade candidate. I this is not the first I've seen about this, and I'm with you. I hope he goes to a winner, and I hope they're able to figure out some kind of trade. I would love to see him in a Padres uniform, and if you can get him without, giving up Cease or anything else, like
that trade doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. So if you're adding him to your existing starters and going, basically toe to toe with LA.
Yeah, but do you give up your prospects? That's the big question.
Do you give up an Ethan Salas or a Leodalis DeVries for that? I don't know. Starting pitching is tough to come by. I will say that. So you got to make moves for the future if you can. All right. Well, we spent the time talking about this one to death. Good luck, Sandy, wherever you wind up. It sounds like you're going to get traded at some point. If KeNikka and I are to be believed. We had some Red Sox Civil War talk. Finally, if you listen to our Monday/Tuesday episode, I should say, because we weren't on Monday, but if you listen to our Tuesday episode, you will know that we said Civil War had kind of gone quiet in Boston. Well, it reared its ugly head back up again and actually found a couple of sound bites, which means it's time for the Daily Double, Nika. All right. Well, first up, we have the MLB Network Knuckleheads. Here we have JP John Morosi talking with Harold Reynolds, and I believe Matt Varsegian is in there with them as well. Let's take a listen to the MLB Network Stooges, shall we?
It seems to me that when you bring in a Gold Glove winner at third base and he's already on the field, in game shape, thriving in his new environment, it's hard to then move Bregman back across the diamond. To me, if you were going to have Bregman be your second baseman, he'd be playing second base right now to get the reps in a new position. It seems very clear to me, Harold, That Bregman's your third baseman and Devers either is DH, maybe he spots in at first base depending on Casas' role. But I think right now all the signs to me look like Bregman's going to be your third baseman.
I agree. I'm looking at it. Remember when Marcus Semien moved to second? They had an opportunity to move him back to short because he had an injury. He stayed at second.
Yeah.
Xander Bogaerts, same thing happened in San Diego. They could have moved him back to short.
Well, they are now.
They are now, but they didn't because he needed to get his reps at second base.
Yeah.
It makes no sense if Bregman is truly going to play second that he's not getting these reps right now.
Perfect analogy.
Stooges to the end. I'm in agreement, with what they're saying, though. If Bregman was going to be playing second, he would be playing second. And, Devers, I don't think it's in the clip, but he's not going to play his first spring training game until March 5th. Mm-hmm. So he is basically another week away from today from playing, or not a week away, I guess, because of the leap year we just discussed, or lack thereof. But anyway, he's not going to be playing until next week in spring training games. And nevertheless, if Bregman was playing second, he'd be getting ready to play second. He's been playing third.
Wow. That's messed up.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement. It is messed up, but that's what's happening. And so I don't think Devers is going to be playing third.
No, I don't think so either. But that just creates more distrust and this funky dynamic inside the clubhouse.
Yeah, well, and that leads to the Daily Double because there's a second clip that we got to listen to. And this actually comes from the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast, which had an episode this week out with new starting pitcher Lucas Giolito for the Red Sox. And he actually was asked about this situation with Devers and Bregman. And here's what he had to say on the podcast.
I'll let everybody in on a secret. At the end of the day, it's like AC and Breslow that make those calls. Like, we are employees. We can have preferences. Everyone's allowed to have preferences. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. But at the end of the day, we are employees. We get paid to go out on the field and do what we're supposed to do. So if they tell somebody, oh, you're playing here. All right. At the end of the day, whatever helps the team win. So, I don't know, man. I was like kind of astounded when, I saw like what Rafi said and, I was just kind of like laughing, like I joked about it with him. And then 2 days later, I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's like a bomb went off on the internet. I'm like, damn, dude, no one here cares so much about that. Like, we're here trying to get ready to play.
All right, Nika. Well, what do you think? Is he telling the truth here?
I think he's trying to be politically correct. He
Yeah, I
doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus and doesn't want to take sides.
Well, check. I agree with you on all 3 points.
Yeah, and he doesn't sound confident in his statement. So
No, that's an interesting way to put it. Not confident in his statement. Yeah, we've talked about this story a couple times on the podcast, and these guys are human beings, and they are out there to compete. And I just feel like it's a bad culture to create for your teammates if you take the guy who just last year signed a 10-year deal to play third base for your team and not communicate in the offseason with him apparently about like, hey, we're thinking about bringing in a Gold Glove third baseman. I get the argument and I get that it like quote unquote makes sense, but yet there's another part of this that makes sense that you don't do it, which is that you don't disrupt the team quote unquote clubhouse leader, or if you want to say it, captain, whether he has the title or wears a C on his uniform or not. The guy that you give a 10-year extension to is your clubhouse leader / captain. And that's just a fact. So yes. I don't like the way they're treating Rafael Devers. I really don't
either. And it really speaks poorly about the whole organization communication systems.
No, and no offense, Lucas Giolito, but you're not the guy that got a 10-year extension.
Right,
so
you're not.
I understand what he's saying, and at the end of the day, you have to go out and do your job. But just don't think that this doesn't matter, and that it just automatically leads to like, well, Devers is just going to hit the same way even if he's not playing. Some
I got
guys will
something.
not.
That's true. I got something for you to chew on. Giolito is playing for his new contract. His contract is up after this season.
Mm-hmm.
Has mutual options, so he might want to stay with the Red Sox if he likes it. He cannot speak ill about the organization.
I don't think any of the players will go on a podcast and speak ill about the organization. But I think what you said about him giving a safe answer is spot on. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that we're going to compete. They're human beings. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. I don't like the fact that he's playing coy and saying, "No, everything's all good. The manager just tells us where to go and we play there." Like, come on.
It doesn't work like this in sports.
It doesn't work like this in life.
Well,
if you show up to your job and someone else is hired and is replacing you, like without you being told, you're going to be upset. I don't care who you are. You're not just going to suddenly magically get along with this person, even if when the cameras are rolling, you're smiling and goofing off with the person, the same position you're at, or smiling and having a conversation. Players are capable, I think, of compartmentalizing and like, well, I have to go out and take infield with this guy. I might as well make the most of it versus, oh, everything's just magically fine now because they're laughing together in a picture on Twitter.
But playing third base and playing first base are very different. The same
100%.
with the shortstop and outfielders. So when you just want to switch players on the whim, it doesn't work.
Yeah. They just like to play fantasy baseball, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, we can trade Tristan Casas or something like, and
It doesn't work.
I don't like the way that I don't like running a team like that, and it seems like that's kind of what the Red Sox are doing a little bit. So, interesting daily double. Interesting because I don't think we necessarily agree with either analysis, and I feel really bad for Rafael Devers. Not gonna lie, 100%.
I think that's one thing we agree on, how he's been treated.
Yeah, like dog shit.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we got a new segment to get to, and it is called Beyond the Box Score. And unfortunately, there's no intro song yet. That's my fault because I just kind of came up with this segment, and I really wanted to do it because it's a good topic. And I think it's something that's going to rear its head a lot and produce quality material for the KeNikka Sports Show, everybody. All right. Well, Beyond the Box Score, just to give everyone a little short explainer, is basically when I am looking through my phone after spring training games, I will often look at the box scores for a lot of these games and just like check and see how players I like did. Like I'm looking at like James Wood and Dylan Cruz right now to see how their springs are going. Young players. I like to check in on these things. Well, this week we had a Dodger debut, everybody. It was Blake Snell, one of our favorites from the KeNikka Sports Show. If you've listened to this show all the way back to 2023 when Blake was still on the Padres, we had some very strong feelings about some of the things that Mr. Blake Snell would say about like accepting walks as a part of his game. Yeah, just not feeling that energy.
Yeah.
And we were not sad to see him leave San Diego. 100% transparency.
Yes, we were not sad. He was very frustrating player to watch.
Very frustrating player to watch. And I would argue, till I'm blue in the face probably, that he was not a good teammate because he would constantly say like 5 or 6 innings is my job. And yet when you don't go that extra inning over and over again and even go 8 or a complete game once in a while.
Well, he did have one game, remember?
Yeah, but that was one.
Right, and then what did he say afterwards? I show all the naysayers I can do. What does it say?
But he also had 2 1-inning starts in like August and September last year, bro.
That's true.
And including against division rivals like the Diamondbacks and stuff. So, and you wouldn't even take the mound against the Padres. I don't know if that was like by accident or by design, but part of me feels like it was by design.
Wink, wink.
Well, we'll see what happens this year. Anyways, Blake Snell made his Dodger debut this week in spring training, and I happened to check the box score, and even for me, I had to do a double take when I saw this one, Nika. Blake Snell in his Dodger debut, 1 inning, obviously, no one's really going more than an inning right now, but 1 inning, 30 pitches, 4 hitters faced. And I said to myself, this is a new segment. This is Beyond the Box Score because this perfectly encapsulates what I want to say with this segment is how the hell did you throw 30 pitches to 4 hitters? and only allow one hit, and he struck out a batter. So I'm trying to figure this out mathematically in my head, and I couldn't. So we basically had to watch the game. I had to go back and turn on the game and be like, how did this happen? So I'm here to explain to everybody, in case you missed it, in case you just happened to see Blake Snell, 30 pitches, 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 strikeout. How the hell did that happen? Well, that's what this segment is for.
All right. Kenny
So
Prince.
as it happened, Blake Snell faced 4 hitters and just gave up a bunch of foul balls, nibbled around the strike zone as usual. It was classic Blake, classic Blake. I remember at one point looking at you and going like, wow, there's 2 outs. He's got like a 1-2 count on a hitter, and he's at 15 pitches. And I looked at you and I said, now he's got to get 15 pitches in the rest. How is this going to happen? It was just amazing. And then it's like, the guy works it to a full count, foul ball, 3, 4 foul balls in a row. And it's like Blake just nibbles, and he just doesn't let guys hit the ball. He hates getting hit. I think he's secretly afraid to let guys hit him. And that's why he nibbles around the strike zone, and he doesn't let his pitches work for him. Anyways, before it was all said and done, 30 pitches, 1 inning, first spring training start. And as he was running off the mound, I couldn't help but notice that he just looked relieved.
That was over.
Yeah. And it's like, this guy has not changed or learned anything, despite all the chatter you might be hearing in the media about like how he's embracing his new role in a Dodger and going to be better because he has a full spring training this year and all this. I bet you he has a 1 or 2 inning start within the first 2 months.
Oh, no doubt. And also he is mentoring Bobby Miller.
Yeah, so he can teach Bobby how to nibble around the strike zone. I mean, like, well, at least Bobby Miller's forehead might be protected if guys aren't swinging and missing pitches.
There you go.
We'll talk about Mr. Bobby Miller in a second during our injury update. But look, this whole thing with Blake Snell going 30 pitches in 1 inning in a spring training start, when you're just supposed to be fine-tuning and mechanicking and not caring if you get hit. You're not supposed to care. And we see the same crap.
I really hope they keep the ABS system for balls and strikes.
If he gets a call reversed in a critical moment of a game, oh my goodness, is it going to rattle him? Rattle the cages.
I really hope, not just because of him and stuff. I think it's a good system to keep around.
Well, this is an interesting topic, and I just happened to catch a quick soundbite on MLB Network. It's really short. It's from Yonder Alonso, and they were actually doing their 30-15 training camp segment on the Dodgers during this, and they were looking at their starting pitching list, and here's what he had to say. Quick 15-second soundbite here.
They have the best rotation if they stay healthy. That's the only question mark. But again, this is a Dodger team that's kind of revamping the way they work. These starting pitchers, they don't need to go 180, 190 innings for a full season. They'd rather have quality, 150, 140 innings. Give me your best when it counts the most. That's in September, that's in October and November. That's what they're aiming for.
And I just want to say, I understand the argument he's making here about the Dodgers look to be looking at the season as an aggregate. And they're saying, like, can we get 140 innings out of this guy? Can we get 150 here, maybe 100 here, maybe 90 over here? And I guess what I'm concerned about is this going to cause pitchers that maybe are wanting to pitch more or with more consistency, like maybe Tyler Glasnow, Yamamoto, the guys that are more of your horses, I guess, in this race. Are they going to get frustrated by this because there is inconsistency in their routines that are constantly being put upon them to be like, well, we're going to pitch as a team. And like, well, today Ohtani's ready. He needed an extra couple days. And I'm sorry, it's your turn, but we need to pitch him now so we can get him ready again for his next start after this even. And like, like how is that going to just affect this whole Dave Roberts has a huge monumental job, and Mark Pryor with him in managing this pitching staff with what he's talking about here, because they're basically doing bullpen by committee with a bunch of starters.
That's not right.
And they're not saying like they're going to pitch every game like a bullpen by committee. I'm not making that argument, but they're basically treating starting pitching by committee here by going into the season with 10 starters and knowing that they're going to try and use all of them. It's different than what the Padres are doing, where you have like 4 known starters, and then you have like a fifth spot that's under competition right now that like maybe three of the guys are gonna maybe have to spot start throughout the season. But you also have those four guys in the minor leagues that you're kind of trying to keep fresh and in case you do have someone that goes down. That's different than going into the season with like 10 known commodity arms and saying like we're going to get 50 innings out of Kershaw this year and that's going to be great. They're just plugging it into an aggregate and it's I feel like it's going to backfire in a weird way. I know I'm not alone in hoping that with MLB fans.
Right, but how is that helping to preserve the integrity of baseball in general as a pitching staff?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see because there have been guys like Justin Verlander and there have been talks in the offseason about quote unquote restoring the glory of the starting pitcher and some rules that might come into effect around starting pitching. So I'm curious. I'll be waiting and seeing.
I do hope they implement some kind of a rule because this is really getting out of hand.
Yeah.
You either have starting pitcher or a bullpen. You can't have it both as a bullpen.
We'll wait and see. I'm curious as well. And I will be following this closely because of that. And starting pitching is something that's sacred to me. Hell, I used to pitch 6 innings regularly in high school games. Like, it's not hard. And I didn't strike everyone out either. I got my fielders involved. They played the game for me. It's part of the game.
Well, that's why they get paid so much money to be a pitcher, starting pitcher.
Well, and that's why Greg Maddux had 2-hour starts where he threw 78 pitches, complete games, because you can't strike everyone out on 78 pitches.
Right.
You need a lot more to do that. And he didn't care. He knew guys weren't going to hit it hard. So anyways, the game has changed in some sad ways sometimes.
Yeah.
And I hope they do return the glory of the starting pitcher and force guys to maybe learn a thing or two from Greg Maddux about how to like pitch and how to pitch deep into games.
That's your job. You're supposed to try to be better every time you go up there.
We got some injuries to get to, everybody. Right. KeNikka, can you call the doctor?
Ready?
Yes, doctor.
I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea there, Doctor.
Damn it, man, I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician.
Dr. Harris.
Yes?
Do you concur?
Is there anything you can do, Doctor?
Somebody give me a doctor! Somebody give me a doctor!
Well, here is the doctor giving us the news. We mentioned it. Andrew Benintendi for the White Sox is out 4 to 6 weeks. He has a broken hand fracture, everybody. Sad news for the pale hose, as they're called. Speaking of broken bones, Nick Madrigal of the New York Mets, we mentioned that he had a fractured shoulder and that he would, quote, be out for some time by manager Carlos Mendoza on our last podcast Tuesday. Well, it is going to be a long time because it's the entire season. Nick Madrigal is out for the year. Just the worst news you can get as a player. Wishing him well on his recovery, honestly, because he probably needs the psychological morale more than anything right now. But more broken bones were to be had. Blake Perkins, the outfielder for Milwaukee, he has a fractured shin bone and is going to be out through April. Sad news for one of the rising stars of MLB, Gunnar Henderson, everybody. Gunnar left the game yesterday with lower right side discomfort. This was after he made a leaping catch, by the way, off the bat of Bo Bichette, or at least an attempt. I'm not sure, but it was a leaping catch attempt or something. But apparently it was just precautionary on the move of the Orioles, so we'll update this as it goes along. It doesn't sound like it was serious, so that's good news. All right, well, speaking of the Orioles, KeNikka, I would like to cue the welcome back music for a second.
Who's coming back for the Orioles?
Well, Felix Bautista, the closer.
Guess who's back again?
He's back. Welcome back to the fight.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back to the land of moving parts.
Oh, boys! I'm back!
If you remember, they got Kimbrel to replace him. Felix Bautista hasn't pitched since 2023 because he went down and had the Tommy John at the end of 2023. That's probably a sight for sore eyes for Orioles fans who definitely missed his presence at the end of games last year. But he is throwing batting practice, and the Orioles are being cautious with him, of course. But he is back on a baseball field and throwing 2 batters. So good news for Orioles fans. And Bobby Miller, who, of course, we mentioned got knocked in the head with that line drive. He went into concussion protocol. He is scheduled to pitch a bullpen session today for the first time since that happened. So that's good news for Dodger fans and for just Bobby Miller in general. I hate to see anyone getting hit like that. And it's dangerous, and lucky it wasn't worse. All right, and one other mention of an injury, just because it's one of our favorite names. Not a major injury, but Nacho Alvarez Jr.
Nacho, Nacho, Nacho Man.
Nacho had a left wrist injury, and he left the game for Atlanta. I guess it's a little bit concerning because apparently after the Nacho Man here, Atlanta's infield depth gets pretty shallow. So I guess if you're a Braves fan, you will be wishing Nacho a speedy recovery so that you have your infield depth back. But they're in pretty good shape. They got a healthy Austin Riley, who's back from his wrist injury, and Orlando Arcia and Ozzy Albies are there. And Olsen is, of course, at first base. So Braves pretty strong infield, if you ask me, just naming off those lists. All right, Nika, that's all the injuries. A little bit shorter of a list today, and obviously the Nick Madrigal injury, wishing him again a speedy recovery.
I didn't hear any obliques, which is nice.
Well, it could have been Gunnar.
That's true.
They were coy about that, so we'll have to follow that situation. Gunnar, stretch.
Damn it.
Hey, Nika, I caught a sniff of some bullshit in the media this week. Can you stop the presses for me?
Stop the press? Listen, I'm sorry about what I said. I was being an idiot.
Excellent example of infield journalistic investigative technique.
Therefore, your heinous comment will be stricken from the record.
I just happen to notice that our presses aren't running, which strikes me as rather odd since we are, after all, a newspaper.
All right. Well, this one was too good to ignore. If you're new to this segment, we kind of screwed it up on the last episode, by the way. Ignore what that was. It was good content, but it wasn't necessarily in the true spirit of this segment. So Stop the Presses is basically us calling BS on someone in the media or multiple people in the media. There can be multiple offenders every episode. It doesn't matter. But we're basically looking for people that are in the media, in the mainstream media, and we're calling BS on their stories or on their angles or on their rumors or whatever. We're here to keep them honest, everybody, and that's what this segment is for. Stop the Presses. I got one for you this week. It was from MLB.com, actually. Right at the heart of the source, Nika. Thomas Harrigan, guilty as charged. He wrote an article this week about the sneak peek of the 2026 free agent class. The 2026 free agent class. You heard that correct, folks. It's February 28th. It's not even March 1st yet. And we are looking ahead to next year's off-season free agent class. And he had like a list of the top 10.
Why is this necessary so early?
Because it's bait. It's literally bait. And you know who I think I'm going to say suffers the most from this is actual players. Because I'm sorry, if this article's on MLB.com, I feel like it's going to get back to like 90% of these guys and be like, oh, did you see your name in the article today? Just in locker room banter. They're going to find out. And then they're going to get reminded of the fact that like, oh yeah, I'm playing for my job this year. And oh, no pressure or nothing. And oh yeah, I guess I'm going to be a free agent. I might not be on this team next year. I wonder where I'll go. And then like, are they focused on the season? I know they're professionals, but we treat them like fodder so much. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like they can't help themselves.
It's horrible. It's really horrible. But you have to be very thick that you don't think that this is going to affect the players.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody that's human could ignore it.
Yeah.
We heard from Lucas Giolito earlier about like, oh, it's just a job, it doesn't matter. And it's like now they're being like, it's taking that to like another extreme where it's like, oh, I'll sign somewhere, I'll make money somewhere doing it, it doesn't matter. And then you don't build a team, you don't build a camaraderie, you don't build a culture. And that's what I think a lot of baseball teams around the league are suffering from, including the Red Sox.
Oh, definitely the Red Sox.
They have an identity crisis right now, and they don't want to admit it to the media or anybody near the media. But we're going to watch it play out.
That's fucked up. I'm sorry.
Wow, Nika with the F-bomb. Happy Friday, everybody. Yeah, ultimately, though, this is just a distraction to all these players because, like I said, I think it's going to get back to at least 90% of them, if not all of them. And there's nothing they can do about it right now.
Yeah, let the season play out. What happens if one of these players on that list gets injured or gets, I don't know, moved before somebody else signed him or gets traded in the middle of the season before the All-Star? What is the point of this list?
Well, I don't know what the point of this article was other than to be a clickbait article in the middle of spring training and get people riled up. And it got me riled up to the point where I'm calling BS on your article and that there's no reason to write this crap until the season's over. Let the season happen. Let these guys focus on their game right now and let them have the best season possible so they get paid the most amount of money. Like, that's a true celebration of the game right there. But you got to poke the dragon and create manufactured drama for clicks and for headlines and sensationalism. And that's all this is. It's crap journalism. I'm calling you out, Thomas Harrigan. It's crap journalism. Stop writing it. Stop.
It's a crap journalism, and it's all done because there's a quota of articles that somebody
Probably.
has to write.
Yes. And if it's your boss that's making you write these crap articles, then I'm calling him out too, or her. Whoever it is, I don't care.
Yeah.
Stop making people have quotas in journalism and focus on quality of stories instead of quantity. Take a page from the Dodgers that you worship so much. They're going with this by committee, like quality over quantity starts. Do the same thing with your articles and your journalism.
And they wonder why journalism is in a decline. Who wants to read this stuff?
All right, do better.
Do better.
I'm glad I got that off my chest, Nika, because we got to have some fun before we get out of here today. It's Friday.
Fun Friday.
It is Fun Friday. And you know who I happened to see this week that put a smile on my face?
Let me guess.
Yes.
A player?
It was a
From
former player.
Previous generation?
It was. It was a player from my teenage years.
Oh. Somebody on the Cubs.
You're warmer.
I'm warmer.
Getting
right.
warmer.
Who is it?
It was my good friend, right fielder, Sammy Sosa. I saw Sammy at Cubs camp. We heard from Sammy a few weeks back from Cubs convention that he was going to be back in the fold and welcomed back to Wrigley Field this year, I guess, from the Ricketts family. And we got to see Sammy making an appearance at spring training. And boy, did Sammy have that old smile on his face.
It's great. I mean, after 21 years coming back here, yesterday was first day, and I got an opportunity to see the game and also teach a little bit. Some guy, that was jumping too much, and but that was great. I mean, I'm happy to be here, blessed, and once again, I have to say thank you to the Ricketts family for this opportunity. Great counsel and Jay Hoyer for the for the opportunity.
What's it like to put on that uniform again?
Great, man. I feel like I'm playing again. But it's good. I mean, all the players happy for me to be here. I have a lot to contribute here. I believe that the opportunity is here, so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it right now.
And it just kind of took me right back to the 1998 season, the 20 home runs in June, and just the joy that me and my friends had, and we were swept up with Cubs fever, baby. And we loved it. We loved it. And I do thank Sammy for some of those memories. Now, they are, of course, coming with mixed feelings in my adult years because we have the steroid allegations and all the sadness that kind of comes with that, tainting the game and everything. And, of course, Sammy's been punished. He is not in the Hall of Fame despite having 600-plus career home runs and just some monstrous seasons, quite frankly.
So why do you think they're bringing him back? Not bringing him back. Why is he trying to get back into good graces of the Cubs?
It's interesting, right? There's an interesting timing parallel, and I mentioned it earlier on the show. Barry Bonds is signing cards again for Topps this year, and I can't confirm that this happened, but I feel like the guys that are from the steroid era have maybe gotten together on a Zoom call or some kind of backroom meeting at one of the events.
Okay.
And just been talking with, like, how do we avoid becoming Pete Rose? You know, how do we get back into the good graces of baseball? We don't have to worry about running our mouth like Pete Rose because we're smarter than that. So because let's face it, I love Pete Rose, but sometimes he said some stuff that was like, man, you're just not helping yourself right now. And I wish you would just be quiet. The time when he went into the Phillies broadcast booth comes to mind because he just like started popping off cuss words, and you don't have to do this. You don't have to tarnish yourself like this. It's so nauseating. And I know Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa are going to be smarter than that. They're not going to go out in front of a camera and be like spouting F-bombs and C words and worse. Who knows? The point is I think they stand a better chance of reforming their image, but I don't know if this is going to like get them the results that they want ultimately.
So you think this is all to get them to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. I think they want to get in and they don't want to become Pete Rose. And Barry Bonds is the all-time home run king. No matter what people think about Hank Aaron being the real leader and everything, the stats say otherwise. The on-the-field home runs that left the yard say otherwise. I don't like it. I don't like how it was done, but it was done. And I don't know. I think there should be like a Hall of Shame in Cooperstown.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes, well, that is a shame.
Yes, a shame.
Oh, that's too bad. What a shame.
Yeah, it is. It's a damn shame. A damn shame.
And like that acknowledges like, hey, these guys were great in their day, but they come with some controversy and some taint. But then I start thinking like, is there a lot of players that fit that bill that are already in the Hall of Fame anyway? Maybe, you know, and is that fair to those that come after? I don't know what's right or wrong anymore when it comes to this subject. All I know is that there's been some hard lines drawn in the sand over the years when it comes to Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose, both gambling. Even back to 1876, I don't remember the names, but I know that there was a Louisville team that had a gambling scandal, and the commissioner of baseball back then, 1876, threw them out for life, 4 players. One of them begged on their hands and knees for a second chance and didn't get it.
So you think
the fact that it goes back this long, 150 years of justice like this, like it's a hard nut to crack, man.
okay, but you're talking about gambling.
I am.
Sammy Sosa wasn't a gambler. So there's a
But they were
distinction.
cheating. If they were, you know, taking banned substances, they were cheating.
Right, I know, but is it the same as gambling?
Well, you made a comment earlier about, wow, Sammy played in a lot of games. And you just wonder, like, did this help them repair their bodies? There was also a lot of unknown substances, like I think creatine and andro. When those first popped up in Mark McGwire's locker, like people were asking questions about this stuff and what it is and should it be legal or not. I think that's a gross over-exaggeration now in retrospect, but like human growth hormone, anabolic steroids, those should probably be illegal.
I think if it's made in the lab, that shouldn't be part of the sport.
Probably.
I mean, they
So-
chew tobacco. That's a stimulant.
Well, and amphetamines existed when a lot of players that are in the Hall of Fame are in. And that's one of the arguments about the steroids. It's like they're victims of their era, not necessarily guilty trying to tarnish the game or bet against the game like you brought up. But I still think they knew what they were doing was wrong and that they saw themselves shattering records that had stood the test of time and didn't care.
Well, put an asterisk next to the name.
Well,
Juice.
that's been suggested as well. But this is, like I said, there's been hard lines drawn in the sand over this stuff over the years. And whether it's cheating or whether it's gambling, I think doesn't matter to the powers that be. It's that you disgraced the game. It's a tough one. We'll see. Barry Bonds,
see.
by the way, was a 400 player before he allegedly started taking human growth hormone. He already had 400 career home runs and 400 career stolen bases and was the only player to have it. I
Just
believe.
wanted what, extra?
Just wanted more glory. And I think I think Barry Bonds saw Sammy and Mark McGwire shattering the single season home run record the way they did. You know, it was 62 or 61. I'm sorry. It was 61 for so many years since Roger Maris did it in that movie with Mickey Mantle where they were both kind of chasing it. And Babe Ruth had done the 60. So it was like Those were the only 2 60 home run seasons. And then all of a sudden they both do it in the same year. And then they don't go on to do it multiple years. And I think Barry Bonds got jealous and was like, I'm better than them. And he showed it because he started taking stuff and he hit 73. And he finished with some seasons that are just spot on ridiculous, with not just the number of walks, the number of intentional walks, and no one wanted to pitch to him. All right, well, this was some fun Friday talk, and at the end of the day, though, it's fun to see Sammy back doing what I think he loves best in life, which is being around baseball and talking baseball and being around baseball players.
Yeah.
He is a baseball player.
He's probably missing it.
Of course. So
At
I think he feels relieved, and that makes me feel relieved for Sammy. I know he carries a lot of burden over this probably, and I'll never forget him carrying the American flag out after 9/11, you know?
Wow.
He always used to have the little flag. But he would run on a sprint out to right field every game, you know? And it was a fun thing. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for this Friday episode of the KeNikka Baseball Podcast. And thank you for joining us. It was a fun episode. We had lots of great chatter and great stories and good sound bites. I got a little choked up living down memory lane.
It's okay.
Well, make sure you never miss one of these Kodak moments here on the KeNikka Sports Show by subscribing to our all of our episodes on Spotify or Apple or Odyssey or wherever you're catching this, YouTube perhaps. We really appreciate it. And, you know, find our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We don't care. We're not biased or anything towards any of that. We hope to see you there and hope to talk baseball with you. Bring your passionate arguments. We will be sportsmanlike, but we will enjoy some friendly banter.
Let's go Friday night baseball.
And yes, enjoy all the Friday baseball action from now until the lights go out here on the West Coast, everybody. Take care. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.